Since I last spoke about Chapter 3 and its rumoured features, a lot of news has come out from the developers in the form of both a dev blog and many Discord teasers. So we'll begin with the features confirmed to be inside of Chapter 3 and then slowly move on to some possible additions which haven't yet been confirmed by Redbeat themselves. First up is all of the new different locations, and I'm not just talking about storyline islands. No, although Chapter 3 will be receiving 3 different story islands, there's more to it than just that. The developers have already confirmed that in a 2020 dev blog they're planning on adding more standard islands, so possibly more tropical islands alongside the ones we already have, and on top of that I'm kind of hoping for a brand new rare island. However, something even more substantial could be the addition of a new biome, and as you probably know, the developers recently gave us the first look at a snowy island being added in Chapter 3, and this will almost certainly bring along with it a cold biome. So when you're in the vicinity from that snowy story island, there is a chance you may run into a snowy island, separate from the main one. But what will this cold biome actually offer us? And what animal might roam there? My guess is a polar bear, but let me know what you're thinking in the comments. But that isn't where the storyline stops. There are actually 3 separate storylines being introduced with Chapter 3, and we're yet to be shown the third by Redbeat. So could the final island also bring us a new biome along with it? Maybe a savanna biome or a swamp biome? What do you guys think? So there you go. That's all the locations for Chapter 3 pretty much covered. But now I want to speak about some of the items confirmed for the new update. And the first thing to talk about is the new clothing items. Quite possibly implemented like the furniture, meaning you'll have to quite likely discover clothing pieces throughout the world and then you'll be able to change your outfit freely. Also, speaking of character clothing, there are 4 new playable characters being added in Chapter 3. Each of these 4 characters can be unlocked by meeting them in the storyline. Now, we're unsure whether they'll all be met in Chapter 3, or whether it's possible that when rewriting and editing Chapter 1 and 2, Redbeat may have decided to send us back to the previous storyline islands in order to unlock certain ones. But having 6 characters in the game is an awesome and very welcome change. Now, another infamous item being added is the juicer. We've probably all known about this addition for a while now, ever since they first teased it in the 43rd dev blog all the way back in 2020. The juicer will be used, as you probably guessed, to make smoothies. Now, we have no idea how good they'll be when it comes to thirst and hunger, but I'm guessing pretty useful. And one of the last items already confirmed to be introduced within Chapter 3 is linked heavily to the new trading post, and that's scrap cubes. These are essentially a form of currency which can be used to trade for goods at the trading post, and can be obtained by trading in fruits, plastic, leaves, and other kinds of trash. Oh, and this trading post I'm talking about? Well, we're unsure whether it will be operated by some kind of AI character, or maybe it will be automatic, and on top of that, we don't even know where it will show up. But my guess is that each standard island you find will probably have a small chance of spawning with a trade post on top of it, which will offer you a whole different variety of things that you quite possibly can't obtain very easily, like titanium, upgraded tools, and other valuables. Now, speaking of confirmed Chapter 3 items, as I'm recording this video, Redbeat have just released the first look at an upgraded battery that will come in the Chapter 3 update. What do you guys think of it? I mean, if you've watched any of my streams, guys, you'll know my relationship with the current battery, so to say the least, I'm very glad they're adding this. And just before we move on to the building changes, I want to quickly cover some items which aren't yet 100% confirmed, but in my opinion are quite likely in the plans for Chapter 3. First of which is the Harpoon Gun. Now, the Harpoon Gun you've all seen was one first discovered by me on an art portfolio from a Redbeat developer. Now, although I still believe this Harpoon Gun will be added into a game, that particular model was actually a part of the application process for said developer when applying for Redbeat. So will it actually be added? That's up for discussion. However, I think with all this deep diving, we need a reliable underwater gun, and the Harpoon Gun fits perfectly. And along with the Harpoon Gun, what if with the introduction of Varuna Point, we're given some upgraded scuba gear? Because have you seen how damn deep that place is? I'm telling you now, we're going to need some upgrades before exploring that location, because the current oxygen tank does not allow us to go that deep for longer than a minute. And don't forget, we'll be exploring, fighting off jellyfish, fighting off anglerfish, and much more. Oh, and also, while we're on the topic, let's talk about all of the new animals being added in Chapter 3. Some are already confirmed, but there are a few still up in the air. First up are the Scuttlers. I strongly believe these guys will be featured at the last island in Chapter 3, because they don't really fit in Varuna Point. However, there is one place at the bottom of Varuna which we've already been shown, and it's almost like an underground trapped cave. It's a strange area, and although I don't think the Scuttlers spawn down there, there is a chance. So as we now know, there are 3 confirmed animals: the Scuttlers, the jellyfish, and the anglerfish, all of which will be able to harm us. However, might there be a friendly animal? Maybe a new addition alongside the goats, llamas, and chickens? Perhaps. But I think what's more likely is that a new animal like the bears on Balboa may be introduced on the snowy island. Now, could that animal actually be polar bears? Or could it be something a bit more mythical? Like, imagine just walking up on a yeti in that snowy island. I think I'd stay far away. Anyways, it's time to move on to some building features which we may see added or changed in Chapter 3. First up, inside of the most recent devlog we received by Redbeat, they made a huge paragraph outlining some new things Chapter 3 might bring. The developers also stated that brand new building parts will be introduced. Now, I love the sound of this, but what could it actually mean? Well, might we get more freedom with building? Like perhaps new wooden styles, better support so we don't have to keep using poles like crazy? There are so many possibilities, and I can't wait to see what they meant by this, because I do think there are a lot of improvements to be made within building, still even after the massive improvement that the renovation update did bring. On top of these new building paths, something I've hoped for since the renovation update was new building materials. Currently we have 2 materials. One is a very rudimentary wood, and the other is a slightly more polished and clean version. However, it feels like we're still missing something. Could we finally get that upgraded stone or metal material? Imagine the creative freedom that sort of thing could bring us. Please, Redbeat, I'm begging. Anyways, is that everything Chapter 3 will introduce? Well, not exactly, because arguably one of the biggest and most impactful changes that Chapter 3 will bring is the entire story overhaul being made by Redbeat. Now, at first, I'm sure many of you had negative reactions when initially hearing about this, and you might be asking, well, do we have to restart our worlds to get the new notes, to meet the new characters? And the truth is, we don't know yet. I wouldn't think so, right? Now, although I do think we'll be able to carry on in the same world and just revisit the old islands to find changed things, I do believe creating a brand new world might be the best thing to do. But don't worry guys, the actual lore of Chapter 1 and 2 won't be changing too drastically, as Redbeat have already said that they only changed the necessary features. They've removed a few notes here and there which just don't add to the story very much, and on the flip side have also added text which enriches the story. Oh, and before we finish up here, let's quickly talk about some extra features which aren't yet confirmed but could quite possibly be added in Chapter 3. First up is the addition of both advanced and possibly even electric collection nets, as currently the only net in the game is called the simple collection net. So if this item is to follow the same path as, say, the purifier for example, then we're still missing 2 different upgrades, and that's the same with the grill. We're yet to receive an electric grill, and I'm sure these aren't the only items we're yet to get in their final forms. I can't wait to see all the changes that this massive groundbreaking update eventually brings us. I hope you guys are excited as I am, but if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave it a like, and if you're new around here and like what you see, why not subscribe and join the best community in Raft. Also, just before we leave, my Discord is in the description down below, and I highly recommend you join, since we host pretty much weekly giveaways for both Discord Nitro subscriptions and much more. But until the next one guys, I will see you later.